Well, welcome everyone. Hi Aaron, how are you?
Hey David, how are you doing today?
Really good actually. Excited to have another day with you. Excited about a couple of stories that we're going to share with you today.
Yeah, the first one I'm real excited about because someone posted it on our I always forget it, photography and videography school Facebook group. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting stories. How's everybody doing in the chat?
Yeah, there's quite a few popping in now, which is really good. So thank you everyone
Gerald
for
and
joining us.
Harry, Carl, we've got Van,
Lee is here as well.
Jaime, I think that says, Jeffrey,
Colin's here. 0007. Casper's here. I'll be banned by the time you get back. I keep telling Casper off. So we'll see how he goes today. Who else have we got? Hogarth's here as well. Langston's here as well. Your voice is very echoey. Which one? Now, who's got echo on it at the moment?
Echo. Here we go.
Now, let us know. So who's got echo? Can you let us know? Is it both of us or is it just Aaron? Let me check. Unplug something. All right, let me just check.
Am I echoing on your end, David?
No.
Okay.
Let me go here. Now, is it just Aaron? It seems to be on. Okay, let me try. I'll turn this mix minus on. Hopefully that'll fix it. So
What's up,
talk
Lee?
now, Aaron. See if it's fixed it.
Hello, Barry. How you doing? MJ Adams, what's up? Thanks for being here. We're checking echo as I read off the people here. Carol, hello. How are you? Hero.
Now,
David.
a few minutes before Aaron adjusts. I've put a USB mix minus on this thing, so it should get rid of that. I'm hoping. Aaron has horrible echo, so just Aaron. Yeah, hopefully it'll change in a second. Keep talking, Aaron, until the.
Yeah, we're using Skype, so the best. Wish us luck.
Is it
Hello,
still
testing 1 2 3. Am I still echoey? How about the lip sync? That was the other thing that's usually off.
There we go. It's
Lip
fixed.
sync.
Okay, it's done.
Cool.
All done. Yeah, you've got to put a mix minus in. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's fixed. So thank you very much.
Mark, what's up?
So what we're going to do, we've got 3 stories we're going to talk about today. Now, I've been given permission to talk about, to show a video. Some of you may have seen it, some of you may not have seen it, but it's what the reason why I thought we'd talk about this, Aaron, today is because over the last few days, I know Langston brought up a topic in the photography videography school about how toxic photographers or people have been in those Facebook groups and areas like that, and like social media can be really toxic. And in fact, a lot of people were saying it was a really quite long post in the photography videography school, people saying they felt threatened and it was awful. People were aggressive and things like that. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about the delay on Aaron, unfortunately. We're going to try using some other means, but today we couldn't because Aaron has had to basically fix his machine up, so we had to use what we had previously. So you have to excuse the lip sync on Aaron at this stage. Hopefully we can fix that by next week. So the thing was, we wanted to discuss it because it is very, very toxic. Now, I know that as a YouTuber who's now got a reasonable following, that I cop a hell of a lot. I'm sure Aaron does as well with toxic comments. I mean, really toxic sometimes. I delete them. You guys wouldn't see them. I actually delete most of them, and a lot of them are just filtered out because they have words that you can filter out, and then you won't even see them. But we're a lot older, which means we can sort of laugh it off a little bit. But if you're a young photographer, coming up, this really could be devastating. And I wanted to sort of show you a video. Now, it goes for about 3.5 minutes, but it's really good because I thought we could show that video first, and then we can discuss some of these things that sort of happen as topics. So I thought that might be a great way of doing it. Now, I will share the video, and I will share a link to the video because I did ask them if we could share it, and it's from the School of Photography. I think they're from the UK actually. And I'll share that so you can go and check out their stuff because they have some amazing stuff on their website. So they did give me permission to actually play this. So let's play it, and then we can have a discussion from there because you're going to crack up. If you haven't seen it, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I know. It's so cool, right?
All right, so let me bring this up. I know, it is, but it's a classic. All right, so I'm going to play it now. Oh, now, hang on. Now, oh, God, I hate this. Why doesn't audio come through? I tested it before and it was fine. Let me have a look. Oh, because we can't play it without the audio. Coaster. Let me just see. I wonder if it's because I had that mix minus. See, to get rid of Aaron's audio, I had to put mix minus on, and that could be the problem. Let me see if I can show it on another page. I might be able to show it through here.
Once I hear the sound, I'll put the time down on our timeline.
Yeah, there we go. I can play it through there. Okay. All right. Okay, so let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so watch this. You're going to love it. Oh, there's still no audio. Oh, do you believe it?
There's no audio.
There's still no audio. Oh, my God. Now, why isn't that got audio on it? Oh, I was
going to say, I don't hear nothing, but I don't know if that's because of our setup or not.
Now, let me just see if I can add another one in, and I'll see if it comes through. Oh, sorry about this, guys. This is a nightmare, some of these things, sharing this stuff. This is why we're trying to find another solution. Let me just go video capture, screen capture. Let me come back to here. I'll just see if I can add a different audio. Well, who knows? It could be. You never know. We just have to go quiet for a second because I've got to change the audio on this. So bear with us just for a second, guys. Audio. All right. So.
I hope I don't hear it, so hopefully it's going through.
Now, it's going to work here. I've been switching all over the place. I think it's going to work, Aaron. All right, so here we go. Hang on, let me start.
Oh, it's a lovely scene.
It is, isn't it? Thanks.
Yeah, what are we up to here?
I'm just bracketing my exposure and then I'm going to take it into Lightroom and merge it all together to get some really nice high dynamic range.
Lightroom?
Yeah, Lightroom.
You won't see proper photographers using Lightroom, you know.
Well, for things like this, they would.
Oh, no. The digital age has ruined photography. You would not see Cartier-Bresson using Lightroom.
Alright, mate.
Hello, mate.
What are you taking photos of?
Just some wildlife over there.
Alright. I need a bit of help. What's this?
It's a tripod. Expensive one of that.
What's it used for?
Keeping your camera still.
Couldn't help me set it up, could you?
Yeah, all right. No worries. Here you go, mate.
Thanks.
All right.
Mate, you couldn't help me out again, could you?
What's up?
It's not going on the top of the tripod.
You've got to screw the plate to the bottom of the camera.
There's a thing there.
Jesus Christ, give it here.
What setting are you on, mate?
I'm using S, shutter speed priority.
Oh, right. What's a shutter speed?
You're on your own now, mate.
Wait, you didn't tell me what this is.
Shooting on the kit lens?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people like that look, don't they? Sort of low-mo. Yeah. I mean, who needs a proper lens?
Right, I like this lens.
Well, personally, I think you should go for a wide-angle prime. Get a lovely landscape. I mean, you probably need to upgrade your body as well because that's quite an amateur model.
Nothing wrong with this body. I've had it for years.
Yeah, I mean, sure for your pictures on Facebook and stuff, but for professional stuff, I think you need to upgrade your body to a pro model, preferably a Canon, because I mean, there's Nikon. Who uses Nikon these days? I mean, really.
Lots of people use Nikons.
Yeah, I mean, in the 70s. look, to get a professional look, what I really think you need to do, get a wide angle lens, nice prime, decent high quality wide angle lens, a professional body, some nice fast SD cards so you can write them at decent speed.
Mate, you can't upgrade your personality, can you?
Oh, that's the Canon EOS 5D Mark IV. Did you know that has 61 autofocus points? I found page 400 in the manual particularly interesting as it mentions the select. Did you know you can have up to 29 minutes and 59 seconds per... I find that absolutely fascinating. I was talking to my friend Gerald in the camera club yesterday and he brought up a very, very good point.
That's a lovely scene, isn't it?
I love it. I love it, Aaron. It's just such a crack up.
Yes, it is.
It is so true. And the thing is that, like I said, the reason why I wanted to bring this up was because this was brought up in our group and they were saying how toxic things are out there. And when they went to check the people that were the biggest critics, they had no work to back up what they were looking at all, like nothing.
That's so true. I started doing that a long time ago. When someone would leave a bad comment, I'd say, well, let's see who this person is. This is like a while ago. And every time, well, except one time, every time they had like nothing, like literally nothing, not being mean, like they had crap work and it's considered, they had nothing, like nothing.
Well, they haven't.
I only had one person that actually left some really rude comments, and I said, this is probably someone else. I didn't check because I was getting tired of just checking who these people are or whatever, so I kind of got it. It's a troll type thing. So I never leave bad comments back, like it's just not my thing, but I said, oh, let me just play the game real quick. And I said something back to him, and sure enough, someone else comments like, oh, you know who you're talking to? I'm like, I don't care who I'm talking to. And I looked, and he's like really, really good and got all this work and all that. So one guy out of like so many had no work except this one guy. The one time I actually say something back. So it's kind of funny, but most of the time they just, I don't know who they are or what they're doing. So.
Well, the funny thing is, like Gerald said, my friend Gerald laughed out loud, and then Casper said, reminds me of Gerald Williams. To laugh. Because when they mentioned Gerald in there, I just laughed, and Gerald got the joke as well, which was quite funny. But the interesting thing is that, let me just bring this up, because if we look on here, I've just got to make you a little bit, I'll take it off that actually, I'll just talk about it. If you look here on the website, I'll mention what they say. So there's three types of things that they're talking about on there, which is a purist. And I loved how he said, was it Henry Cartier-Bresson didn't use it, neither do I. I mean, you do find that that's what often these purists, they're like. And remember, we had this when we all turned to digital, because all the film purists were there saying, digital and all this sort of stuff, and they were bagging it, all these sort of things. We've had it also with people talking about editing, that saying that it's not the real image that's there. Like if you put something in that's edited a certain way, you love it, and then they'll start bagging it to say you've edited it too far or things like that. These are the purists that want it to be totally pure.
It goes back before that too, because I read lots of articles in when cameras were first starting to come into existence, and the painter, people who painted for a living or for their own, would actually criticize the people that are getting these electronic devices called cameras and cheating by taking a photo of something instead of painting it. So it's always been like that. There's probably certain, like before they started using easels or whatever that's called to hold the painting, someone probably said, oh, you're supposed to hold it with your hand. It's all throughout history the same thing over and over again. And yet people latch on to one thing that they like, and then everybody else is like not pure because they're not doing it.
Well, then you even get the ones like that. You'll get the ones that love flash, and then they'll bag the people that use natural light. Yeah. And it's always these purists are the ones that are arguing about this. That like I said, they'll argue about anything, raising the ISO, manipulating the image, dropping a fake sky. I got that before. Like it's even dropping a fake sky in. If you want to drop a fake sky in, I don't really like it, but if you do want to do that, that's up to you. That's your artistic choice. But, you know, these purists, it just cracks me up.
And the thing is, they're using tools that people before them didn't have, so it's a completely ridiculous argument. I mean, and then, as we all know, art is completely what do you call that word? Subjective, to everybody. So it's like, if you hear anybody criticize anything that you're doing, they have no right to, unless, now there are corrective criticism, which I think Oreo commented in that post we're talking about, and he said there is ways to corrective criticize. Now, I don't even corrective criticize unless that person's asking for any type of criticism. If they post something, the Sony A7R or whatever, with the baddest whatever, and they just post a photo, if I really don't think it's bad, maybe I just won't comment. If I know that they're beginners, I'll probably comment and say, wow, that's a great shot. But I never, ever criticize unless they say, hey, what do you guys think? How can I improve? Then I'll give them a corrective criticism from what I think. But when it comes to art, it's whatever. But sometimes, did you mean to use a certain thing to get that, because it does look a little strange. But if they don't ask for criticism, I don't even get it. So
yeah, I mean, I'm the same. And funny thing is too, like some sites, they will say that you can put no CC on there, which is interesting. So if you're happy with what you've got and you just want to share, and there's nothing wrong with that, you just want to share, you're totally happy with it. Remember, art is subjective. But immediately, even when you put on those sites no CC required, they'll still do it because they can't help themselves. This is the thing.
Yeah,
and then, like I say, you check their work and they've got nothing.
They have nothing. Or if I did check a few times, it was like they had like 2 or 3 pictures, and it was just like, what? I don't even know what that is. It's like, you can call that art, his 3 photos, but they're really just bad photos of nothing. I don't get it. Like a political photo or something. It's like, I don't know what this guy's doing. The other thing is, I saw someone. It was very cool because someone posted a photo somewhere on one of these groups, and it was a good photo. I liked it a lot. I mean, it was a good photo. It's like, I think most people would probably like this photo. And he put his settings there, and I know exactly why he used the settings he used, which is a little unorthodox, but I knew exactly why he was doing it. And some smart A commented like, why on earth would you use those settings? You're not supposed to do this and that. And I know that the guy commenting doesn't know that the real photographer that took that photo, who posted that, he was doing it for, I'm not going to go into why, but and then sure enough, the guy came back and said, oh, well, because if you do this and that, you get this and that. And I'm like, see, look, and now put that guy to shut the guy up, because his approach to the photography was spot on, but that guy was taught on a video he probably just watched that you shouldn't do that or something. So yeah, they're full of it. You just let it go, I was telling him.
You do,
Don't even comment back.
Now the second one, I love too, Aaron, because the second one they discussed was all the gear, no idea, deep pockets.
Oh yeah.
And they say, but not a cent spent on basic tutorial, book, or workshop. In other words, they've got all of this gear and they think they know it all without having any skill or anything whatsoever. And you often see this when you do weddings, because you have the Uncle Bob,
yeah, that's Uncle Bob's right there.
That it's just a classic. They've got all this money. I mean, I did a wedding not long ago, and I was there with my Sony, and I noticed the father sitting on the front. I think it was the father and Uncle Bob. I can't remember anyway. It was someone on the front row had a D4S, and I thought, oh no, here we go. Because I knew it. The second I saw that, I thought this is going to be a disaster, because and just the look on him and the way that he was sort of shunting around and sort of getting in the way and doing all these things, I thought this is the problem that you get. I mean, I don't know what his work was like. It might be good, but it is interesting that a lot of photographers not photographers, I should say, there are some real gearheads out there. There's nothing wrong with that. But some should be spending that money on learning their craft and learning the art, rather than just keep continuously buying gear.
Now, I've had that same thing at weddings a lot. Once you see like something different than like an iPhone come out of someone's bag, it's an Uncle Bob, like, oh, he's got the biggest flash on there. He's not even using it right, and he's pointing all this stuff like, oh, here he comes. But not only weddings, is we were actually on a European trip last year. I think it was last year, and we were, I was doing photographs of my wife in these beautiful places and all that, and someone with a big bag of gear came up to me and said, oh, what you shooting with? And it's just like that guy did. I didn't get to hear the video because I wasn't getting audio, so I saw it once a couple hours ago, but I think in the video, the guy said, "Oh, what are you shooting with there?" Something like that. And I told the guy, he was really nice, but he says, I think there's a better angle over here. So he's like trying to tell me, this isn't good. Come over and, no, yeah, I'll get over there. I was real nice. I wasn't stuck up or whatever. It says, well, let me finish this and I'll go over there. Maybe it's a good angle. It wasn't a good angle, but I was polite enough. But yeah, you get the same thing that you saw with a guy coming up and trying to tell you how to do stuff. You do get those type of people. I would never do that to anybody. I mean, how on earth?
I know, it's just crazy, but you get that. Now, the next one, which is quite funny too, is I had two mics on too, so I probably had a bit of echo as well. The next one that I look at is the know-it-all, and they say the sentences typically start with "trust me" or "actually."
Oh yeah, wow. Trust me, I know. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Sometimes they do know, but a lot of times they don't. Like I had someone try and tell me how to use a histogram. I'm like, really? I mean, I was, like I said, very nice guy. I didn't look at him all like that. I go, oh, really? Oh, yeah, exposed to the right. Okay. It's just, yeah, there's those out there too. I don't know. And anybody in the chat, I haven't been reading this. Am I the only one that have this out on the street other than weddings? Have you had it on the street, David, other than weddings?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just crazy. Like, it's everywhere. You just think, oh, my God, it's just nuts. Like,
yeah.
And I'm going to sort of summarize this up once we finished it. But, the know-it-alls drive me crazy because it really is like that guy. He just wouldn't stop. He just kept going on and on and on and on. And, they know everything about it all and you should be listening to them. And they're the type that when you're having discussions online, they just won't give up. They'll just keep going, which can drive you absolutely nuts. And like I said, it usually does start with things like that, "trust me" or "actually" and stuff like that. So I thought that was a beautiful comment as well. The technical geek is quite funny. Now, I am a little bit of a geek too. We all are in here. But it says definitely spends more time lecturing people in the forums than actually taking photos. Now, this is perfect. Now, this is the one that really tailors down to what Langston was talking about in the group, that they think they're technical. They may read up on stuff, I don't know, that they seem to think that they know what they're talking about, but these are usually tech geeks, not photographers. They are not artists, and all they'll do is pixel peep. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what they want to do, but they shouldn't be criticizing people's art when they haven't got anything to show themselves.
Well, there's a famous YouTuber that you all know that I think is that way,
Yes,
Gear, he knows everything about it, but his work is not that great, So people post stuff all the time where you might have seen someone posting something. It's not that good, but I don't criticize. It's maybe they're new. I don't know. You just see it, and then they'll comment on your stuff, criticizing your stuff. It's like about the technical stuff, So you get all those kinds too. Those are like the really bad ones too, like that I see mostly in the forums, going after maybe not your composition and stuff or your art, but the technical aspect on why did you use that? You should have used this type technical stuff. I think that's the big one.
The thing is, the industry is rife with this stuff, and it's not only like these tech geeks, it's also people like running workshops, Aaron. I mean, you've got people that are running workshops, particularly because they can't take a photograph and they can't get any money. They might be reasonable photographers, but they're not making any money from it. You see it all the time. You see it all the time on YouTube, all these other places where people are offering workshops, other things that are out there. They've never really, they tell you, that they'd like to be this, how to earn $12,000 per session. Well, if they're doing that, why on earth aren't they working for that $12,000 a session and instead of trying to make a smaller amount doing a workshop? It's the industry, unfortunately, is full of a load of, I don't know what the word is, but the people that you should be following and take notice of are people that actually have the work to show to prove that they know what they're talking about. And like I said, this is rife through the whole industry. It's completely rife through workshops where photographers obviously aren't getting work and all of a sudden they're offering workshops, or they haven't even done anything before and then they turn up and they're starting to offer workshops. YouTube's full of it. YouTube is full of people offering advice on how to do stuff, and they've got no work at all to back it up. It's all through it.
Well, I think we're talking more about the toxic thing of this, but I don't want to go too far. But yeah, there is a lot of you could just look at the YouTube channels. Sometimes these people have a lot of followings, and I maybe it's more personality and stuff, but they're doing photos, but the photos aren't that good. So I don't know if that goes into the toxic thing, but those people I do see get a lot of toxic remarks because you've got those people who maybe know and maybe are good. I don't look at their portfolios, of course, but you see those types of YouTubers that have almost 1 million followers, and their photography not that great, really, but you see a lot of toxic stuff on there. So I don't know if they're trying to delete those or they just let them go. So those people get a lot of toxic stuff. But hey, they got their followers and they're doing good on YouTube, I guess, you know?
Barry said wankers, David. That's the word.
Yeah, I mean, trolls, that's the... I first started hearing that word troll come up, and I never really understood it until I started looking at the people's negative comments and like, oh wow, this is a real troll. There's like they're a ghost. They come over here and they say stuff. So I don't get it. Do they have like, are they like real photographers, you guys think? But they sign up, you know, as just an unknown name because they have no subscribers, they have no nothing, and I just don't understand it really.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just seeing what Lee said. He goes, it's crap, David. So soccer or baseball fans shouldn't critique soccer fans because they don't play. No, I'm not saying that at all, Lee. What I'm saying is that if you don't ask for critique, particularly if you put no CC on the thing, you shouldn't give it. Remember, art is subjective. So it doesn't give you the right, Lee, to put a nasty comment or critique someone when that's their artistic choice. If they ask for critique, that's fine and you're able to give it. But the problem is a lot of these places, Lee, what they're saying is that you're going in, I know Gerald put one in, which was a lovely shot, and he put one in one of the sites and he got slammed for no reason, and he actually said no CC. And there was nothing wrong with the image, but and the image was his artistic choice. But these people were being horrible. They were being aggressive, and you know it's not needed. If you don't want critiquing, you shouldn't give it. And I understand what you're saying, that you can give critiquing, but there's a way to give critiquing and there's a way not to give it. That's one thing that you've got to understand as well.
I just don't give it. If they're not asking me, who am I to say, hey, you should have did this, or that to me is just like, how could I do that to somebody if they're not asking? Like, hey guys, I got this new thing, or I'm into video for the first time. Can you watch this video? Because I've seen these posts. Can you watch this video and give me any advice? Then I'll say, hey, you know, to improve the guy, I'll be real nice to tell him. But if they don't ask for it, I completely don't give it, because how dare I give it?
I know, that's the thing. And remember, the thing too is that it's artistic. And your choice is your choice. And this is why I was trying to say to Lee that I don't agree with what you're saying there, because baseball and soccer are not artistic. It's not an art, it's a sport. It's totally different. The thing with art is it's your artistic choice about how you do something. There's no winner or anything like that sort of like there is in soccer. It's just your artistic choice about how you make something. So it's a completely different thing. The thing is that what you've got to try and understand here is you may not like that image, but the person that's created it loves it. And really at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, you might like blue, I might like red. Are you going to argue and say how much better red is than blue? It's completely makes no sense to comment on stuff like that. Now, if I'm going through and I see a photo that moves me, like, wow, that's really cool, I will comment and say that's gorgelicious, or like our friend says, butta. I mean, I'll say stuff like that. But if it doesn't really inspire me, or it's like, I've seen a million like that, or it's mediocre, I might not even leave a comment, but I'll never thumb something down or anything. I won't leave negative comments. It has to move me to really say something. If it's kind of mediocre, like, hey, that's a nice shot, the composition's good, I'll leave a comment. But other than that, I think you just shouldn't leave any negative comments. Now, someone left people leave negative comments on my stuff not all the time. I wouldn't. That's lying, but a lot of times they will. Just the other day when David said we were going to do this, someone left a comment on. I forget what it was. Can't remember what it was, but it says, "Thanks for pointing that out, Captain Obvious." It's like, what? I'm not pointing anything out. It's a photo. It's just weird, you know. That's just so weird. Someone to leave that just has to not like you or something, to leave a weird comment that has nothing to do with me pointing anything out. So yeah, you get it. I get it all the time.
But see, the other thing too, there's a way of doing this. If someone does want constructive criticism, well, that's fine. But the way you do it is, instead of saying you should have done this, which means that you're wrong, you should sort of argue it from the fact of, why didn't you could have tried to do this. It might have been interesting if you did this, for instance, to see how it looked as compared to yours, instead of saying, you used the wrong aperture, you used the wrong shutter speed, you used the wrong ISO. Like a pointing finger attitude. Yeah, it's just this thing of I'm right, you're wrong, which is that thing which I hate so much about it. And it's in fact a lot of the reasons why I just don't bother posting anything in most of those places anymore.
Yeah, sadly.
Because it's sad. It is sad.
Oh, I remember when I went over to Fuji, I started going on some Fuji groups. I don't know if you remember this, David, but I mean, my gosh, I got so much just hate. What? It had nothing to do with switching cameras either. Those people didn't even know me. I was just posting my photos, the Fuji X-T3 with the 90 millimeter f2 or whatever it is, and they're just, just like, wow, man. I was like, whoa. And I came on here, and I think I told you guys about it. It was like a year ago. It's just like, I left. I'm like, that actually gave me a bad taste for the Fuji users, which, you can say, oh, I'm a Fuji user, I'm not like that. But man, it was 3 groups and they all just attacked me. I mean, I'm like, wow, dude. So that left me kind of like, I ain't posting over there no more. So I just did my YouTube thing and stuck in my own little Fuji world, I guess. Or our group, the photography, videography school, I would post on all the time because we kind of manage that. And when people get dumb like that, we just delete them and stuff. So I just post on there. But there's a couple groups that, you get a few here and there. Now, Gerald just said that even if he puts no CC, he'll still get it. I think if you put that, you're really asking for the trolls to say, oh, hey, and then they'll really probably go at you just for saying that. And I had someone else say, like, someone commented something rude on my thing or whatever. And I said, well, could have been nice about it and told me this or that. I don't even comment on that no more because they just start hitting me even harder. So I ignore it. And one of those comments were like, hey, if you're going to bring it, you need to take it. I mean, that's what we're into now. We got to be photographers and just post our work, not asking for anything. Just show a photo. I took this in London, and then you're going to get attacked. Well, if you're not going to bring it, then don't take it type of attitude.
I know it's true, but I love this comment too. That where did I see it a minute ago? I had to say it because I thought it was so funny. Are you saying that I shouldn't begin the critique with "Listen, you insignificant little"?
Wait, I missed the part at the beginning of that.
It said, "Are you saying I shouldn't begin the critique with "Listen, you insignificant little"?" And then he's got the ... I love it. It's quite funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's
my doggy's in here. And,
oh, hello.
My wife brought me some ginger tea we make every night. We take some ginger with like a grater and we grate some ginger. So she brought me in some hot ginger tea.
Oh, yum. So let's just quickly have a look and just see if we can get this, talk about the chat just for a couple of minutes. And then move that over there. And then let me see if we can bring this up.
Are we switching subjects, or are we still on the same thing?
No, we're still on. I'm just going to go through the chat and just talk about if we see anything that's.
Well, I was going to say, some of the people in that post that we were talking about that said, "Hey, these people are ruthless out there." When I get a negative comment, this is a long time ago. I just ignore it. Just like, oh, okay, and just scroll away. It's like, don't even give them what they want, and that is a fight or whatever. So you just don't even say it. In fact, it actually makes me post more. Or it doesn't make me stop. You just got to keep posting because there's so many people that are looking at your work that might not comment that enjoy it. It's just those few little dum-dums that'll leave something. It's just, I know even when you read it, you feel a little weird, but don't even comment. Let them sit there. Let them bask in their own dumbness and keep posting because your work is probably great and you enjoy it anyway. So.
Yep, and that's, before we do go over the chat, I should just say, this too is really related to young people particularly, or people coming into this industry, because they're the ones that can really be damaged by this.
Yeah.
I mean, it can really hurt them. And this is the thing that people have to understand, that, that as a teacher, I mean, I'm a teacher, I have a teaching degree. So I understand how you do teach people, and the way that they critique people in these forums is not the way that you teach. You have to do things in a positive manner that is reinforcing, and this is the problem, that the way they do it is not reinforcing, it's degrading.
That's society now. People want to be the one who knows it all. People want to be empowering. They want to belittle people. It makes them feel powerful. Aha, I told that guy off. That's just the attitude of people, and it goes into probably all sorts of different worlds. So yeah, they're not there to help you at all. They're just completely there to feel empowered by just
it's their own ego.
Keyboard. What do you call that? The keyboard warrior type thing, like because if they said that in any one of our faces, we'd probably beat them up or something. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm a nice guy,
I know what
but
you're saying though.
They're scared about it. In person, they walking through the grocery store, they got their heads down, probably, but on that keyboard, they're real tough.
Yeah, I agree. So let's see what people are saying anyway.
That's really tasty.
Photomix says, I've done it on live on my channel during a shoot, ran up a guy shooting with the A6400 laugh out loud. We actually ended up following each other. Yeah, but you were doing it as a joke, Ike. Langston said, I personally like it when people come up to me and share their opinion.
Are you saying in person, like on the street?
Yeah, I think he's talking about if it's in a shoot.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't mad at the guy, but it was funny, that they know the angle better than I do. It's just weird to me. But I'm nice, and hey, you know what? If someone suggests something and I actually did go over there and I saw it, like, it's not that good. But if it was good, I would have took the shot and said, hey, thanks,
Yeah, I mean, I prefer, I get in the zone, and that's the thing with the way that I work. I mean, when I'm shooting...
Yeah, wedding especially, right?
I really do get into a zone, and I zone out of everything that's happening around me. So if someone came and did that to me, I wouldn't like it. But everyone works differently. It would change my train of thought about what I was going to do, because I'm constantly looking all around and doing everything to see how the shot can sort of fit my needs, basically. And Kerry always
someone
laughs.
else say, hey, come over here,
Because Kerry talks to me and I don't even hear Kerry. I don't hear anyone when I'm actually working. And, it's just the way I go. It's just the way I go into this zone that, I sort of zone out. So I wouldn't like it.
I try... A lot of the photography stuff I do around here, there's always someone in the crowd that knows me or something, and they kind of want to talk to me, and I hope I don't come off rude, because it's just like, oh man, I like you said, you're in the zone, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, and I'm like walking away from them, so I'm not doing it to be rude, it's just like I'm working, so yeah, I understand that.
Well, I tell Kerry, I actually say to her now, and she now knows to do it, she now knows to actually tap me, like actually touch me to get me to switch off, because I just can't do it. Like I said, the zone that I go into is really, really strong, actually. And like I said, everything outside of that is gone, because I'm totally focused on it. So now Kerry, if she wants me, because Kerry has an amazing eye, and if she wants me to do something now, she used to say, you're not listening to me. And it wasn't that I wasn't listening to her, it's just that I actually didn't hear her. That was the problem. So now I say, look, please, Kerry, grab my shoulders and shake me so that I sort of come out of it, and then you can, I'll listen to what you're saying, and then I do it. But it's hard if I'm in that zone, and that's why I'm saying I wouldn't like someone to approach me and take me outside of that zone, because then I'll lose my train of thought.
Well, it's funny, speaking of that, Ike always does those live, I forget what Photo Me, Ike Live or whatever, and he has a camera there. I mean, I don't know how you do it, Ike. He's turning the camera on himself, answering questions, shooting at the same time. Sometimes he does, there's families there, or the mom. I mean, I don't know how he does it, because I'm in the zone and I wouldn't talk to nobody, but he's answering questions. Half the time, that's why I don't even do behind the scenes of my photo shoots, just because whether it's even if it's with my wife, who we're real comfortable, just to set up the camera and do that, it's like I just want to keep going and photographing, but now I have to bring a camera with me. It's really hard for me when I get in that zone.
I spoke to Lee when we were talking before. Mark said, laugh out loud, here we go again, bagging other photographers.
What did he say?
He said, laugh out loud, here we go again, bagging other photographers.
Oh, yeah.
Gerald said, if I put no CC, someone still will.
Yeah,
and then
I
I
read
just
that
end
earlier.
the comments, and that's one of the problems with it. If you don't want CC, you shouldn't. If someone says that, you just don't give it.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you don't like, if the negative comments really hurt you, and like I said, they said, well, if you want to bring it, then you can't take it and all this type of stuff. Unfortunately, if that's the way that group is, then just don't post there if you're just gonna get mad at it, because I mean, you can't do nothing about it.
yeah, I don't. I mean, like I said, I don't sort of bother with that anymore now. Like I said, I've left a lot of groups because of that. Ike also said some trolls are real photographers. Some trolls are real photographers. They just like to be negative online, and that can be true too, Ike. I mean, some are, but
I've had one.
Not many though. Most of the ones that I see are the ones that, because I usually do check them, and the ones that usually are negative really badly are not good photographers. Very few, in fact.
And the ones that do leave a comment, maybe it's not like very polite, like all these polite words in there, but it's like, I think you shot that too close. You should have used this lens. That's a corrective comment in a way, but what if I wanted to distort that or whatever it is? And sometimes those are real photographers, and they're saying that they're not being like that hateful, just like putting you down type thing. But the putting down type people, rarely are they real photographers, because most of them understand the craft. So they know it's like, hey, that's artistic, or why bother, so yeah.
Yep. So Ben also said that's the reason why he left the group as well. Okay, Ben, how you going too? And Stuart said also, unfortunately there are many trolls out there, and like I said, it's worse for the young ones, or the people starting in. That's the problem. It really does get bad. What else?
Lee says that's why Ike's work is horrible. It's not horrible. It's like really good, man. Ike's work is like really good with him doing all that stuff. It's just incredible.
Mark said, competitions are based on critique, and that's why I don't usually enter them. I never enter competitions, Mark. But again, that is something that only you can decide to do. And I don't enter them for the exact reason that you said.
What was his reason?
Well, he said that they're based on critique, and that's why he doesn't enter them. They're subjective, and this is the issue. I'm happy with my work, and I don't need anyone to tell me that my work is good, really. I mean, I work the way I do, and that's why a lot of the time I just don't post in a lot of those other groups anymore. But I suppose if you're trying to build a profile, it's important to post. And this is the thing that, you have to understand. Like, you really should be putting stuff on Instagram and everywhere else, because if you're not sort of putting a profile out there, you're not going to get work. Remember, sharing it does give you work.
Yeah, I mean, share it and ignore the dum-dum.
Yeah. I mean, I've put wedding images up, which I think are beautiful, and then someone has put a horrible comment on there, and I think, oh my God, the bride's going to see that. What is someone thinking when you've tagged the bride and then they put some horrible comment on there, like, the bride looks fat or something, and these are the things that people will say in there that it's just disgusting.
About the contest, I entered 3 contests in my whole career of video and photography, and contests for me, for one, you hope to win something. Like, I did a short film contest. The grand prize was $100,000. So I'm going to enter that bad boy, right? Out of 685 participants, I was top 10. And top 10 doesn't get you nothing. So the thing is, you do, I was really like, woo, I have a good chance of winning this. And contests for me only lets you down, because for one, they pick something that, it's not like, oh, I'm jealous that they won. Their stuff wasn't terrible. It was really bad, but the person who was voting liked that one better, So contests for me are just, I did it 3 times. I'll never do it again, because it's so subjective.
Yeah.
And you get your hopes up. Then you kind of feel bad, like, oh, man, I put so much work in that, way more than the person who won. And then you start this thing, which is just not good. It's not a good mindset, because this is art, and if you're trying to beat other people, I'll never enter a contest again. No way, it's just not good.
Yeah, it's now I must show you something, because I thought I'd show you guys this. This book was sent to me the other day. It's Mining Mud and Metals. What it actually is about the old diggers, which are the old soldiers, the Australian soldiers. These guys used to dig the trenches, but they used one of my images in it.
That's so cool.
Talking about this Avenue of Honour here, so this image that's on this side there, that's my actual image. So it's great to be published in this book.
That's so cool.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So this is a whole book about them digging the trenches in World War One, and I think it was World War One, which fantastic. So I just thought I'd show you
cool.
that. Yeah, I was so.
How did you find
honored.
it?
No, well, they contacted me. They actually found my image
Oh, they actually asked you, wow.
Yeah. They found my image on Instagram it's one I posted a long time ago, and they found
So how did they find your Instagram to find the photo?
Well, they were searching for the Avenue of Honor because those trees that I showed you lining down the side all have the names of soldiers on them.
So they just went to Instagram and put in the search hashtag?
Yeah, so they just searched Avenue of Honor images, and it came up. And this is why it's so important to be sharing your work all the time.
That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Don't let the trolls stop you. I mean, keep posting, man.
So that's how that was found, and that's been found about 3 times actually in different paying jobs, where they also did a massive land development which was advertised here, and they paid me a lot of money for that in that to use for that.
That is cool.
That one there, I donated the image to them because it's for the cause. I mean, basically, it was for the soldiers. So I donated it, but they sent me the book, which was beautiful of them to send me the book. So it does keep coming up. Now, the only reason why that comes up is because I've got it online and it's searchable, and that's why things like tags and everything else are really important. And that's how that came up. So what I'm saying to people is you still do have to share your work extensively, because you never know when someone's going to ask you about using that image. And this is the problem, that all of these trolls and stuff stop people from doing it. And this is what we don't want to have to happen. I think we're going to have to move on anyway, because we're down to about the bottom of the image. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the second story, which is, can you use a wide-angle lens for portrait, Aaron? And I thought we could discuss this because you hear it constantly saying, I get these questions asked all the time, like, do I need an 85? Do I need a 135 lens to shoot portrait? And I want to sort of say, no, you don't. It really depends on what your vision is for that image that you're going to use. And Aaron's got a couple of images that he can show to talk about this in a second. And I've got a couple as well that you can look at. The thing that I determine when I'm looking at whether I'm going to use a wide angle lens or whether I'm going to use, say, a longer focal length lens like an 85 or a 135, usually is depending on what sort of compression that I want on the image and how flattering I want the face to look, particularly if I start to come in very, very close. How much of the background I also want to show, like, is the image environmental that we're trying to show here, or is it just a portrait and you want mostly the person to sort of come out inside that? So what we're going to do, did you want to say anything about that, Aaron, though, first, about how do you choose whether you're going to use, say, a wide angle or a long
telephoto lens or something? Yeah. Solely on the background alone. I don't typically shoot wide, angle lenses, but I look at the scene, and if I look through the camera, let's say I have the 50 millimeter equivalent on whatever system you're on, and I look through there, and I see the vision, like there, whatever the object is, and I see that, but there might be some, garbage cans over there I don't see. I put the lens, whatever is on there, like, oh, yep, I can see the garbage can. Then that's when I want to narrow that field of view, and that's when I'll go for a longer lens. Or if there's something in the background that I talked about last week, if I want to bring it closer because it's a small little thing, but it would be cool if that was bigger, then I would use that. So it completely solely, for me, is the background, how much field of view I want, and how much compression I want. Usually when I'm doing photographing with something that's like an f2.8, typically I'll zoom all the way in to get a better blur in the background on certain scenes. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I would use a more telephoto type lens to get a little more blur out of that. But most of the time, it's just that field of view and compression, depending on the background.
So let me open up. So I'll open up your image first, Aaron. So this.
I gave you two. We can show two.
Yeah. I've got the one of the. Let me just bring it over here so that we can share this screen. And I'll have to reduce it down, I think, so it'll fit in.
I can't see it, so tell me which one you're going to show.
I'll tell you in a second once I get it into the window. All right, so this is the bride that's leaning onto the desktop.
Yeah, that's not a bride, it's a model. We did a photo shoot for a magazine, and we're in this beautiful house, and one of the ideas I had was this one of my, I don't know if it's a signature type thing, but I like to get low and shoot high, and this was using a 28 millimeter. So the way I use, I'll show the other one too, but typically how I use wide angle lenses, because some people say, why don't you get the, I like 24 better than 28, which we'll talk a bit about in a minute. But some people say, you know, why don't you get the Sony 24mm f1.4, because you can blur the background and it's 1.4. Now I know it's sharper and all these other things, but typically people ask me for that, you know, f1.4. But for me, every time, almost every time, can't say every, but almost every time that I use a 24mm, or in this case 28, I'm typically always stopping down to f5.6 or f8. I almost never shoot a wide-angle lens wide open just because of the shot that you see here. If I were to shoot that at f2.8 or 1.4, even worse, and I were to focus on her face, you know, that the designer of that would probably be really upset that everything's just blurry except her face. Now the makeup artist might love it, but not the clothing designer. So when I'm doing those type of shots, that's what I do. If you want to show the other photo,
See,
David,
the interesting thing you're saying there too, Aaron, is, and this is so important, because jewelry particularly, like, you know, if you're showing a watch, you know, you don't want that watch to be out of focus. You want the whole image. Fashion particularly, they very rarely shoot wide open, very rarely.
Now I did, while you bring up the other photo,
I've got that up there, yep.
Yeah, I did some other photos where I did open up to get real close to like the shoe, so it's just the shoe, because my wife was wearing this really, really pretty shoe, and I wanted it to be in focus and everything else blurry, so I opened it up for a shot like that. But typically, I 5.6 or f8. Now this, this shot here was my wife. Again, this is with 24mm, and this is why I like 24. 24mm, although 24 and 28 are very close, I don't necessarily like 24 just because it gives me more. Well, like a lot of people, they like it because you get more. I actually like the distortion of 24 for getting shots like this or whatever you're doing. It just makes it look different. It's not just a typical look. So I like the distortion of 24. That's why I like it better than 28. But here's another example. 24mm, I was probably at f8, f5.6 or f8 depending on light, but probably f8 because I want to get my wife in focus and I want the background in focus. That's just what I like to do. Now, I'm getting on the ground to shoot up to see that building, so I just don't want to throw it out of focus. Everybody's different. You might want to just blur it out to where you just kind of see this blurry thing back there, but when I'm using wide-angle lenses, typically always stopping down to get everything in focus, so that's why I don't use f1.4s and spend the money on those when I'd never use it like that.
So what did you say this one was? Was this 5.6?
This was a f8.
F8,
I believe it was f8, something like that. 24mm. Every once in a while, I will take an f2.8, and that's not really a decision that I made. It's like I just didn't stop down because we're running around. So sometimes I would go through my metadata, excuse me, to pull up a photo to show someone that asked me something. And I'm like, oh, that was at f2.8. That's weird. I think it wasn't like I wanted it at f2.8. I just didn't stop down because we're moving quick. But I'm pretty sure this was f5.6 or f8. That's typically what I do. But that's about it. Now, what we're talking about is, can you shoot someone with a wide angle? And I'll just give you my my thoughts on it, and then David can go. I say, yeah, why not? Distortion can look cool when you're doing like you can be doing a photo, but typically like in Hollywood when they're making a motion picture and they want someone to look disturbed or distressed or confused, they'll use a wider lens and get closer. For one, you're getting in their space, so it's making the viewer uncomfortable because this person's like in your personal space, so it's making that emotion that you're looking at. Also, it distorts the face, which is giving you kind of an trying to put the viewer into that person of being like, oh my gosh, I'm like, what's going on here? So you just, it makes you feel a certain way. So shooting wide isn't just like, oh, I'm a technical genius and you should never shoot wide. That's absolutely absurd to say such a thing. It's an art. You do however you want. And if you're doing photography and you want to do David put up a beautiful portrait, a black and white portrait. I don't know what lens he used. I think it was the 55 actually. No.
Yeah, it was the 55.
55. Now it's 55, and a lot of people say, oh, you can't do that. Technically, it should be 85 or more. Yeah, whatever, It looks, I mean, that photo, I wish you could have showed that, but that looks really, well, it's not a wide angle lens, but you could show it anyways because I use 55 a lot for tight shots like that. So you can use it. The thing is, if you take one like that, where if he was standing right there and did 24 and had to get closer, of course, you're going to get more distortion. Step back. If you put those side by side and say, hey, look, guys, I shot this with, and everybody's going to critique it and look at it. But if he just posted that and didn't say he shot with it 55, no one knows what that girl looks like. It looks a little weird. So I say shoot with whatever you want. Typically, if you don't want distorted features, don't shoot wide and get close. You can shoot wide and get back, because the closer you get with any lens, the more distortion. So,
but you were smart. You were smart with this, though, because if you look at it, and this is the important thing that we want to stress here too, is you've got to be careful about where you put your model's placement in this. Like,
yeah,
if you look at the bike, is very distorted. You can see the buildings are, but look where Aaron has put Lisdian, right dead set in the middle.
Missed that. Yeah.
Yep, so that's the important thing that you're doing here. You've got to be careful. I mean, you can sometimes, if you're far enough away from the model, you can have them on the outside edges. But if you're starting to get close like this, like if Aaron had put Lisdian in the corners in this thing, she would have looked really bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's another main point. The other main point, while you reminded me, if you're doing a group shot with a 24 millimeter, make sure you have plenty of room on the sides, because what David just said, if you're just like in camera, you know, getting it to where they're just on the edge on wide, of course, you're going to distort them and they're going to like, kind of weird. So, you know, if you're going to use a wide angle lens, give at least, I don't know, it depends on your lens, so I can't even say, but just give space on the side. So you could crop in later if you want. If you put it in a frame, it fits and the people don't distort.
Yeah. All right, so what we'll do is I'll show a couple of mine. So I'll show you a couple of ones that are 24 mil first. So let me open up these. Oh, didn't I save them?
Yeah, Christian, that's a good idea too. I've done that also, is wide angle, crop a little bit.
I did. I mustn't have. I can show you on these anyway. So these ones are the 24 mil. So you can sort of see on these. Now, I'll show you how I've broken the rules here, because if you look at how you shoot 24 mil lenses, I shouldn't have had Chiara on the outside of the frame. But look, there's no distortion on Chiara, because
it depends on the lens and stuff.
I'm stood back. Now this was the 24
GM.
and
you stood back.
Yeah, so this was the 24 GM. So you can see here that I've allowed the whole environment to come in, and it hasn't distorted on the edges. I think this was shot around about 2.8 because I did want it softened off in the background, but I wanted enough to still show the background that was there. So that's sort of an image that was a 24 mil one. If we open up this one.
If you want to go in also to how you can make objects longer, like legs and stuff like that, you can.
I do that with brides all the time.
Yeah, I know.
This is another one where I've shot with the 24 mil, and again, I'm wanting to show the whole environment around here. Now, like Aaron just said, if you get down low and you shoot up with a wide angle lens, you can make the bride look really, really tall. If you have the lens down really, really low, sort of pointing up, you'll get a beautiful look. The only thing you've got to watch is if your model is, I just want to sort of show it here, that if you're sort of taking you're down very, very low from the bottom, that's the good thing about these, you can use the screen to come out. But if you're pointing up, the model will look very, very tall. But what you've got to watch is, if her head is a fraction back, her head will become tiny, and the front part of what's ever closer to the camera is going to become very big. So you've got to get used to posing and tilt the model's head, or the bride's head, a slight towards the camera. So in other words, they sort of lean a little bit forward, which looks weird when you're looking at it, but the camera evens it out and you get a nice result. And that's one trick of being able to shoot with a wide angle lens if you want to get that beautiful look. Brides always love that look when they're, say, standing at a window or something like that, or standing on stairs, and you get down really low with a real wide angle lens, and you can make them look really tall, and the train of the dress will go really long, and it's great. So that's two cases where I'd use something like the 24, which is wide angle. But when will I use, say, something that's a longer lens? So let's look at these and I'll show you. If I want, say, this type of result, I'd start to use a longer lens. Let me just make sure I'm switching over.
You didn't tell me we were going to do long lenses. I would have sent you one, but...
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like this with Chiara, where the background is now completely blown away. Now, I've had to stand a long way back, but the background now has been blown away. She's dead sharp. The compression also has brought all those trees and everything to the front. So you can see here that this has a completely different look to something like this. So that was shot with the 135. If I open up a similar image with the 24, where was it?
I just got the photo. This was the 135?
Yep, that's the 135, yeah, which is showing Kiara there. There's another one, I don't think it downloaded all of them, which is unfortunate, but let me just see. Did it go into a folder? No. This one here. Let me just bring this down. Was also shot with the 135. So you can also have environmental shots with longer lenses as well, but they have a completely different look. Oops.
And you have to get really far back.
Yeah, you've got to get really far back. But you also lose, like I said, you get a different look because it's using the compression and everything as well of the lens. So it brings your background right in, and it gives you a totally different look than when you're using something that has that wide angle lens that Aaron showed you before, which you do get some distortion on the edges, yes. But also that depends. Aaron was after distortion there and he didn't mind it. You can sort of get around distortion if you try and keep the lens really flat. So in other words, if you are shooting, say like this, if you're doing a wide angle lens and you shoot like that, there won't be much distortion on the edges at all. But the problem is if you get down low, and Aaron loves to shoot low, he loves to really shoot low. If your camera is slightly angled up like this, the distortions are going to be far worse than if you keep your camera down level. And that's the thing you've got to understand with the way that these lenses work. The sooner you bring in any type of movement like that, that's why they have tilt shift lenses. It's to get rid of that exact feature that I'm talking about, which is the distortion. If you have the tilt shift lens, it compensates for that. So if you move the camera like that, the lens will be able to move down so it goes straight. So this is how you get around that. But they're totally different looks. But we just wanted really to sort of say to you that you don't have to shoot. You don't have to shoot with a say a 135 or an 85 or whatever to get beautiful portraits. You can get really amazing portraits shooting wide open, and they really are beautiful. Some of them. I thought I had some of Rebecca, but which was on the wide angle, but it didn't save. I thought that I did.
Now the other thing too, artistically,
oh yes,
when
I've got them out. You can keep talking. Yep.
One thing artistically you can use too, as I told you, and how they can use it in video, but in photography also, if you want to express, if you do the opposite, if you don't want something to get close, compressed by using a long focal length, by using a wide focal length, everything gets really far behind you. So if you had because one of Kiara on that road reminded me that you could get a completely different look using 135 and compressing that road, or use a 24 millimeter. And do it in a way to where the road looks like it goes on forever, like way out there. So, if you wanted her holding suitcases, let's say, and she's like she's tired or something like that, you can say like, wow, she walked down that long road, If you compress it, it's like, oh, she didn't walk that far because the road looks closer. So there's so many artistic ways to use these lenses that he said he broke some rules because there's really no rule. There's some standards that you should learn, but after that, use it to your advantage,
There's another one here of Rebecca, which I'll show you too, where you can see that this was shot with a 17 mil. So again, you do still have to be careful, but if I hadn't angled the camera correctly here, this could have been a disaster if I didn't really monitor how I held the camera and make sure that I've got that dead flat to Rebecca's face, because her face could have been totally distorted. There is a fraction there because it's such a wide angle lens, but I still think it's a beautiful photo. And another one that you can look at here is this one, where I've got this as a wide angle shot.
I have a question, David.
Yep.
Maybe I missed it. Why did you use 17 for this particular shot?
Because I was testing the lens. I normally it was the Tamron 17 to 28, so I was testing it for Tamron. So
look
normally,
at it.
I wouldn't, and the results were wrapped. Tamron loved these images. This was again shot at 17, but I wanted to shoot this one at 17 due to the fact of getting the background into this. Now I know the building's showing there, but it is as it is, and I'd probably retouch that out if I was going to sell this image. But again, this was shot around 17. I think this was 20 mil. I think this was shot at. But you can see, as long as what you've got in the middle, there's no distortion or very little distortion happening on that building in the middle there.
Yeah, the pillars look straight.
Yeah, and that's because of the technique the lens is good as well, but it's also technique as well about how you use it. But you get
You're standing straight up?
Yes, yep, straight up, and the lens is pointing straight at Rebecca in that building. And you can even see it if you move the camera up and down. You can see the distortion actually coming into the frame, so you can sort of see what's happening if you're not very careful about. And Aaron's very careful at when he's down very low that he's maintaining that straight line towards you know, what he's shooting. So that's really all we wanted to show. I don't think there was, oh yeah, this was another one that was shot very wide angle. Again, I wanted to show a complete environment here. And you can see Rebecca just sort of sitting on this little stream that was in the park that we went to. And again, this was about 17 or 20 mil as well. And there's no distortions here on Rebecca. She's, even if she's not in the center here, but it still looks completely acceptable. And this is what we're trying to say to people, that don't count out using something like a, you know, a 17 or a 20 or a 24 mil lens to get really nice portraiture. You don't have to just stick to a 135 or an 85. And in fact, it might make your work look different to everyone else's, Aaron.
Exactly, and that's the problem with these people with these negative comments, because you get, you know, people just watched a YouTube video, so then they say, ooh, I just learned something new. You're not supposed to use 24 for portraits because it makes them everything. So then they go over and start posting like they know it all and ruining someone's artistic idea, like, hey, man, I think I want to get a 24 and do some photo. And then this guy comes over and discourages this new photographer to do that. You just know what it does and the effects of it, and then break the rule if you want. And so many times we do it. Now, David, why is there a question mark on your screen?
Oh, it was probably... Oh.
I'm like behind, so I don't know what's going on at the moment.
No, I've disappeared.
Bye. See you later.
Let me come back. That's weird.
That's too funny.
Let me come back. I'm back. That's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
That's so weird. And I'm behind, so it's there for a little while.
Yeah, lucky you picked it up. All right, so
next story.
Now the next story was just talking about, and I wanted to get Aaron's opinion about this too, about when you would use, say, a tripod or a monopod in your video shoots, Aaron, because you do it a lot. Now, do you use tripods, or do you use monopods, or what do you use when you're going? Did you have a couple to show, or you haven't?
Yes, I do. Beautiful. Okay, typically a mono. Now with in the day before image stabilization was like they are now, I would always use a monopod. I actually use this very monopod with a Canon 5D Mark, I don't remember, for a TV show that we were filming. We were using cameras with L glass. And what I was doing with it, I can't do it all here, but you know, you put a monopod down like you normally do. You put it on the ground, and I had my camera here, and we were filming it. And if when the veterinarian would come in, we would, you know, plan all this stuff. When the veterinarian would come in, it was like kind of like what do you call those? Not live, but I don't know. It looks like it wasn't a scripted type of show, you know.
Oh,
but
okay, yep.
She'd come in, and I would, you know, use this to stabilize it, you know, and film whatever. And then when she goes over to the animal to work on the animal, I would pick it up and walk over there. But every time I pick this up, I would have to hold it now, because once I go back down, you'd always see the jerk. Like, oh, don't do that again. So what I ended up started doing, instead of doing that, because you could put this on the ground and hold it like this and get really nice, unshaky video, even without image stabilization. So then when I started doing it, I started wearing like a little, from Home Depot, like a little, I don't know, hold a tool or something in there around my belt. And then I would put it this long, and then I would put it in that, on the little pouch on my belt. And well, let me shrink it just so we can see it. So that would be in my belt. So now I can do all this video stuff, and I did it for sporting events and stuff like that. And now I never have to pick it up, move it, and put it back down. It's in that pouch on me. So I can stand really still like this. I can even get down on one knee to get a low shot, and I never have to move this whole thing. So it was really, really stable. And if you're using a camera that doesn't have good image stabilization and want to do that, you know, use that little trick. And that, I never really use it for photography. I use it for video. Now for photography, I almost never use a tripod, actually, unless I'm doing time-lapse or something like that. But I always take one of these small travel tripods, because me and my wife like to do you know, self-portraits of us when we go travel, and that's when I, you know, use the tripod. So I use tripods for self-portraits. Or if I do behind-the-scenes video of my YouTube channel, of course, I use tripods for video and all that. So typically, I don't use it. I do use it for product photography because I do focus stacking. So I might take, 18 to 20 photos of a ring with different focus points. And you got to have this. You can't do that with hand. So I do actually use one every day for that, now that I'm talking. But that's about it. For all the other stuff, I don't use it. Now, if I want to get low, I do, invert the legs like this so I can hang the camera underneath. And I do that for video as well, so I get a low shot of something. Or if I want to get a time lapse or something of photography, I hold it like this so I get really low to the ground. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'll just show you. Let me just take these off because I'll show you the really big tripod that I've got. And then I'll show you.
I've got big tripods too.
Yeah, I'll show you the monopod that I use. I only really, the way that I tend to use it now, if I'm doing sliders, and I'll show you that on the tripod that I've got there because it's got the slider on it. We're going to do videos like some of these will be showing techniques for sliding and all these sort of shows coming up in future episodes. Yeah. But if I'm doing something that's going to sit there static for a long, long time, I'll use a tripod. But otherwise, if I'm walking around doing everything else, I'll use a monopod. But I'll show you what I use just so you can sort of see it. So this is the, I better switch back to me as well. So this one here is the big tripod they use. Now this will go to around about 7 foot high. So it's really good. I can get over the top of people if I'm using this, which is really great. And then obviously I can then use something like a slider or whatever that I want to use on this as well. And the camera's not going to move. So this is something where I'd use this type of tripod. Like if I want to have real stability, if I'm holding a fair bit of weight, I tend to use this sort of tripod, and then you can pan and whatever you want to do. So this is the type of thing. And like I said, this will go to 7 feet. But most of the time I'm using this, and I'll show you what this is.
I'm glad I left that for you because
I've got probably, I think I've got around 4 of them.
Oh my gosh!
Sent to me for reviews, but this one I bought. This one I think it's the I can't pronounce it. It's the Siru, I think it is, and it's a P424SR. But what I love about this is the feet because they're massive. Now they can obviously fold up if you want to put them up, so when you're lugging them around, they're very small. But what I love particularly about this is that I can put this on the ground. And then if I put this into the thing, let me just see if I can get it in. It's hard on this angle. The beauty is, now you wouldn't want to really leave it, Aaron, but the great thing is I can take my hand off that and it's perfectly usable as it is. So often, remember I do fusion, so I'm doing things at the same time. So what I'll be doing here is I'll set this on something like that, and then I'll be standing next to it with my, my normal other camera, the A9. I'll be shooting video with this, as well as say shooting it at the same time. So the great thing about this is I can just move this around really quickly. I can stand it down and let it shoot. But you wouldn't want to really walk away because this could blow over or someone could knock it. So, but I love that. And the only way you can do this is because it's got these massive legs that you can see down the bottom, which I absolutely adore. So this monopod has changed everything for me, the way that I shoot. Like I said, particularly shooting, as fusion and that sort of stuff. Let me come back. Now is that? Yep. So that's what I love doing with that. It's it's great, and it gives me that ability to have it standing next to me, and still being able to shoot the video and stills at the same time, and it's great. Like I said, mostly if I'm locked down, like when I'm doing speeches and things like that at weddings and stuff like that, it'll be on a tripod. I wouldn't have it on the monopod then. It'll be on a tripod, and then I feel safe. It's it's not going to go anywhere. If I'm using sliders, like I said, we'll talk about those sort of things in a future video. I'd be using the larger tripod to get the stability. And I also have travel tripods like what you said too, Aaron, which are the really light type stuff. Do you find the light ones are good enough for video, Aaron, or not?
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess it depends on which one you have, but this one is the, I don't even know what this is. We could, I don't even know what the Evo something. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, this one's actually pretty good. It's pretty sturdy. You know, I mean, if it's windy, no, it has, you know, they have these hooks where you can hang your bag to give it more stability, but yeah, I think they're okay to use. Would I do it on a professional shoot? Probably not. I would take something bigger. I'm glad you brought up the slider thing, because when I do use sliders, I, of course, use tripods for that as well. But yeah, I think they're fine. Again, I think I showed a video last time. It was called the NYC on the slowdown. It was slow motion. I didn't use this one, but I used something similar to this, and it worked great. So depending on what you're doing, if it's not windy, yeah, they can work good. Now, one thing we didn't mention, because we're not sports shooters or wildlife shooters, but a lot of them use like those monopods for those big heavy lenses that they got.
Yeah, you weight your front lens on it, and then it takes the weight off your lens. I'm just laughing because Stuart said, "You know what massive feet means, don't you?"
I know, I saw it. I saw it.
All right, let's just go quickly to Q&A. We're not going to stay too long, guys, because we're already way over. We've been nearly 1 hour, 20 minutes. So we're just going to see if there's anything that stands out. David said the 16 to 24 millimeter is my favorite portrait range to use. Don't get too close, center the subject, and they don't distort. Avoid the edges of the frame and have a cool environment around them. And that's the thing. Like I do love shooting with environments around me now. It's really good.
Speaking of which, I typically shot for many years 90 millimeters to 200 millimeters. That's equivalent, because I was on Micro Four Thirds some of those times. So I was always just zooming all the way in and backing up because I like the compression, especially on Micro Four Thirds. You're trying to help that background blur a little bit. So I was doing that for so long. And 200 millimeters, that's a full frame equivalent. You know, it's 150 millimeter on Micro Four Thirds. I'd go so far back. But what started happening was, I realized, like, me and my wife go to these amazing places to shoot, and yet I just cut it all down to a little section behind her, and then I blur it out. So I started, once I went to full frame, which I had full frame before, but Micro Four Thirds for so much, then back and forth frame, I was like, oh my gosh, 50 millimeters is like really wide. So I started liking 50 millimeters on full frame for that purpose of environments with the portraiture. So yeah, that's started shooting wider now.
Cool. Ike also said I need a 24 millimeter lens as well. I'm actually currently renting the Nikon 24 1.8 lens, and it's wonderful. It is the 24 mil focal length is beautiful to shoot with, that's for sure.
I love it.
Stuart said, well, I just bought the 200 to 600. We'll try some portraiture with it. You get some great compression with that, that's for sure.
Wow.
And no social distance problems with that one.
No. But you might be in a crowd with a bunch of people trying to get the shot.
Mark said the 35 is really nice as well. I agree. 35 used to be my favorite focal length until I got the 24 GM, and now I love it.
You did the 35-85. I do 24-50. And man, I just try 35 and it doesn't fit me. You know, someone was asking me that before, like, why don't I use 35? It's just sometimes, you know, your artistic mind just sees things, you know. That's why everybody's different. That's why you can't comment rudely on people. And 50 millimeter to me, just that feels kind of right. Whereas 35, like, it just doesn't feel it. So
yeah, now I just like to shoot with the 24, the 55. I still like the 85 and the 135 are the lenses that I tend to go to now. Stuart said I use my 500 millimeter for wedding shots from the other side of the moat. Wow.
that could be a cool shot. You know what's really cool about compression also is if you're in like kind of a spacious, like, I don't know, like it could be anything, but like say you're in the woods and there's just a couple trees around, to compress those trees together, make it look more full and fill the frame up more is another reason. And we actually talked about this with fake news photos where they're using those same techniques to fill the frame up with compression.
Ike said, where is she at? I think he's talking about Kiara. That shoot that I showed you just before, I have filmed that. That will be coming on live. I will be doing some more things with Kiara, but it's harder now because she's working full time. So it's hard to get the time to get together, but I will be doing some more things with her, that's for sure. I know she wants to do a sort of sexy white shirt shoot, so that will be coming up. Now she's old enough to do it, so we're probably going to do that in the near future as well, the oversized men's white shirt. What else have we got? FX Node said 24 on full frame is going to look a lot different on Micro Four Thirds. Yeah, well, what is it on Micro Four Thirds? It'll almost be, what, around about 50? Yeah, I was going to say it'd be about a 50. Yeah, it's completely different.
Yep.
Casper said, I use the 24 1.4 on my A7R4 and crop the shot. Yeah, so you can crop into that substantially.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about higher megapixel. I still crop 24 and it looks great. You know.
Gerald said that Monopod, the Suri, makes a great lineup of gear. My favourite tripod on a USA trip was the same brand. Mark said, always have a monopod and tripod in the trunk of my car. Dwayne's here as well. G'day, Dwayne. Said, man, I am jonesing, I'm not sure what that means. It must be an American term, is it? To buy a new camera, but can't decide on a Nikon or Fuji. I have 3 Sonys, just want a new toy. Does a Shoot 2 Systems... Does a Shoot 2... Oh, so you're saying that, does anyone shoot the 2 systems? Yeah, it's hard to know which one. I know Ike loves his Z-series cameras, Dwayne. You could also wait too and see what the new Canons are like as well. So if you're not in a hurry, I'd just hold out for a little bit. It is exciting to try different cameras. What were you going to say, Aaron?
One thing Mark said, he keeps a tripod, a monopod in his trunk, and that's why every time I go on a trip, I do take this. A lot of times I don't use it, maybe for those, self-portraits of me and my wife, but that's about it. But it is good to have one just in case, because what if we wind up somewhere in a hotel and we got this beautiful scene, like, oh my gosh, I wish I had my tripod for a time lapse of the something. So yeah, that's one thing I always have with me is one of these, even though I don't use it a lot.
In the book, The Cutting Edge, the author shot a cruise, so you're saying, is that a cruise missile or something, on an aircraft carrier when he was flying. He had a 5-pound gyro spinning at 50k RPM on the bottom of his SLR to stabilise it. Wow. That's some serious gear going on there.
I'd say.
What else? Brandon said, I started with the 24-70 and love shooting at 24. Just got my dream lens, the 24 GM.
Nice.
That's about it. So I think we're down to the end of it. So, Aaron, what have you got coming up in the next few days? Anything?
Just getting my computer back and running. Because
you have put those other files up, though. Tell people about that, the other 2 videos you've put up.
The other 2 videos. Well,
didn't you put the one
up? Oh,
with
yeah. Color. The color, yeah. I did a video that got lots of views and everybody liked my color setup for photography, like straight out of JPEG, like straight out, you take it out and you can give to a client. So I said, I want to do that in video, but in video, we're not shooting RAW at the same time because you can shoot JPEG and RAW with photos. So if the JPEG, you got the RAW. With video, you're pretty much stuck with what you got. So I came up with the picture profile that gave me the best color. I've been talking about this for a few weeks. And it took me 3 weeks to film this, and because I'm working and everything else. And when I started editing it, I started in DaVinci Resolve. I kept getting corrupt files. Like what? So I'd go play them from the hard drive, and they were corrupt. So I had to film it again. I did it 3 times. I'm like, forget it. So I had to put it up there. But I think there's good enough information there if you guys are interested on a picture profile for video that gives you very accurate colors. And also a more filmic color because I took the luminosity out of the colors through the picture profile settings, and a little bit of wiggle room with the exposure, highlights, and shadow. So check that out, Aaron J. Anderson on YouTube.
I just did a review yesterday, I think it was, the day before, which showed a new monitor that I'd just been sent. Check that out. It's probably the most usable monitor I've ever used. Yeah, it's great. It's so bright out.
I've seen it and I didn't get to it yet.
It's the first one I've ever been able to use in the sun, and it's incredible, and it's really reasonable.
Is it like the nits or whatever they call it, like really high on it or something?
I'll show you what it looks like.
Yeah, I saw your thumbnail. I have a monitor out here somewhere, but it's terrible.
Yeah, it's this one, which is the FieldWorld one. It's 2,200 nits.
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
So it is really, really bright. Like I said, it's the first one where I can actually use it to check things like focus and exposure in bright sunlight. So check that review out if you haven't seen it. I will have a few more reviews up tomorrow. I'll probably put some up of small rig. I've got some amazing small rig stuff that's just been released, so I'll probably have those up tomorrow.
And we want to invite everybody to the Facebook group.
Yes, please join the Photography Videography School. The link will be in the description down below. So please join us there if you haven't joined us, particularly because like with the first story we spoke about, you know, it's a safe place to be as well. So please join us there. Apart from that, I'll be back on Thursday US time for the Sony Alpha News and Rumors, as long as there's things to talk about.
Yeah, I know, right?
If there's absolutely nothing to talk about, I might leave it a couple of days. We'll see how we go anyway. Apart from that, everyone, we'll see you all in the next video. Any questions down below, please subscribe to Aaron and myself. And we'd love a thumbs up if you could give us a thumbs up. There's 3 thumbs down. They're probably the people that would be criticising us badly in as well. Why they'd watch us on the live show and give thumbs down.
Yeah. We all get those thumbs down too.
It cracks me up. And apart from that, guys, we'll see you all in the next show next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
I would say we were good together.